Have you ever noticed that sometimes you spend the entire day around the idea of studying, organizing your desk, watching productivity videos, arranging your notes, but the actual studying barely happens? And then at night, you feel this strange guilt, like you were busy but not productive. You start asking yourself, why can't I focus? How do other people study so fast? Is something wrong with me? But maybe the problem isn't your intelligence. Maybe the problem is the way your brain experiences studying. Because something interesting happens when the brain feels pressure. It stops learning and starts surviving, and most students never realize this. When you turn studying into something mentally heavy, like I have to finish 5 chapters, I need to complete the entire syllabus, or I can't afford to fail, your nervous system slowly begins treating studying like a threat instead of learning. Emotionally, your brain starts associating study with stress. And then every time you open a book, your mind naturally looks for escape. Your phone, music, random thoughts, daydreaming, anything except the thing that feels mentally exhausting. And then you call yourself lazy. But maybe you're not lazy. Maybe your brain is emotionally overloaded. Psychologists describe this as cognitive resistance, when pressure, fear, expectations, or emotional exhaustion become attached to a task, the brain keeps delaying it. That's why sometimes you study for only 10 minutes and already feel mentally tired, because you're not just studying, you're internally handling stress at the same time. And this is where people misunderstand productivity. Fast learners are not always smarter. Sometimes their brains are simply calmer. They don't fight their mind while studying. They don't treat studying like punishment. And when the brain enters a relaxed state, information starts getting absorbed naturally. Think about those moments when you watch a video about something interesting and somehow remember everything effortlessly. But the moment you open a textbook, your brain freezes. Why? Because attention is emotional. The brain remembers what feels safe to engage with. This is why forcing yourself harder usually backfires. The more aggressively you push your mind, the more resistance your brain creates. And then a dangerous cycle begins. You delay the task, then you feel guilty, the pressure increases, and studying starts feeling even harder. Slowly, your brain stops trusting the process completely. The students who study fast usually reduce emotional friction first. They don't make their brain feel like the task is impossible. They simply begin. 1 page, 5 minutes, 1 concept. And something fascinating happens when the brain realizes, okay, this isn't painful. Resistance starts decreasing. Focus becomes more stable naturally, and studying suddenly feels lighter. This is where people enter what psychologists call a flow state, a mental state where effort no longer feels heavy, time moves faster, and the brain experiences immersion instead of distraction. But flow cannot be forced. Flow is created through environment, mental state, and emotional safety. That's why some students quietly outperform everyone else, not because they're superhuman, but because they stopped working against their own brain. They separated studying from fear. And honestly, maybe you don't need more discipline. Maybe you simply need less pressure, because your brain learns faster in peace than in panic. So the next time you sit down to study, stop mentally attacking yourself. Don't think, I have to finish everything. Instead, think, I just need to start. Because once the brain stops feeling threatened, focus becomes surprisingly natural, and slowly studying stops feeling like a struggle. It starts feeling normal, calm, clear, almost effortless. And maybe real intelligence is simply this, when your mind finally stops working against you.